So one of the paradoxes of waste management is that we can't have our waste disposal sites normally close to our waste generators. We want to have some separation between the people and the waste in order to protect them from the potential risks of the waste. Now, this is something that we can address slowly as we reduce the total amount of waste. There's some technologies that we can more safely site close to people, so anaerobic digesters, for example. But landfills, we really don't want to live next to. So in the picture, there's a little pin on the map for Green Lane Landfill. That's where the City of Toronto sends their waste. It's owned by the City of Toronto, and it's about 3 hours away. So there's trucks running down the highway all day, every day, going out to this landfill. And that's the solution that the City of Toronto has come to in order to be always being able to move the waste out of their city and put it somewhere. And that's similar to what happens in other big cities like New York City. So trucking is a really key part of waste management in North America. And it is expensive to have all those trucks running down. It costs greenhouse gases to have all those trucks driving up and down all day. And people are really uncomfortable with this idea of having to send their waste away. So, if we could reduce and divert more, then we wouldn't be having that. But people kind of want it both ways. They don't want the waste piling up in the streets, but they don't like the idea of it getting sent away. So it's an issue that we're working on in waste on an ongoing basis. So on the transport stage, there's a mixture of PCVs and SCVs that are going to our landfill. So the more local routes can go straight there, or there's going to be these vehicles coming down the highway. In the picture here, you can see the way that trucks will be queuing after they get to the landfill. And normally there's a big line of them getting ready to go in. And you can see the diversity of trucks reflects everything that's happened upstream. So all those decisions we talked about, the number of streams, how the transfer station's set up, how the trucks receive the waste from the transfer station, they just mean a whole bunch of different kinds of trucks end up going through the transport phase and ending up at the landfill or other site at the end. So this is kind of the intersection between the collection system and landfill operations is with the secondary collection vehicles when they get to the landfill. So as you can see in the picture here, they actually drive up right onto the landfill in most cases, and they're unloading their waste right next to the waste operators who are running the compactors. And you can see in the picture, there's some of the smaller trucks would be our primary collection vehicles that just came off the curb, and there's some larger trucks that would be secondary collection vehicles that came from a transfer station. So we're going to talk a whole lot about landfill operations when we get to landfills, but this is kind of where they come together. And to actually get the material out of the trucks, there's a few different approaches. So on the left, there's trucks with hydraulic jacks that will actually tip the waste out themselves. There's devices that will tip the trailers or the whole trucks to get the waste out, and they can be moved around the landfill based on where they're landfilling. That's shown in the middle. And then on the right side here is a trailer with what's called a walking floor. So instead of having to lift to get the waste out, the floor of it moves in a way that kind of shunts the waste along and pushes it out the back door without it having to lift it up. So this was especially good, say, if we weren't at a landfill, but you were unloading, say, cardboard at a warehouse. If you didn't have a really, really high ceiling, you could use something with this walking floor to move it out without having to tip it and need that vertical clearance. So that's kind of the end of the line for our collection, transfer, and transport system. So we've taken waste from its various generators, consolidated it in the most efficient way possible, and moved it to its various destinations. That could be landfill, as shown in the last few slides, or it could be an incinerator or a recycling plant, any of the other facilities, and we're going to dive into those in the future chapters. So I'll see you then when we talk about those.